So when you pack your bag for landscape photography, what's the first lens you grab? Is it like a 16-35? Maybe a 7200 when you need something a little bit more tight. Because you're thinking about getting grand vistas and deep depth of field. You probably don't reach for this. This is the Sigma 35mm f1.4 prime. So this lens, it's a favorite for wedding photography, street photography, portrait photography, and it's known for its creamy bokeh and very good low light performance. But for nature photography, isn't f1.4 complete overkill? And also 35mm feels kind of awkward. It's not quite wide enough for grand scenes, and it's not quite tight enough for isolating your subject. That being said, I've been using this lens over the past couple weeks strictly in a nature photography environment, and while on paper it might seem like the wrong tool for the job, something that I've discovered was that it actually allows you to add a lot of versatility to your nature photography, hiking, travel experience, because while yes, it might not be the master of one, it does a lot of different things pretty well. So first things first, I wanna take this lens out and test how does it perform with landscapes. So we have this farm field. There's a nice little road leading back to the second woodlot back there. And we're gonna see if we can get some nice leading lines with this lens. So I'm gonna stop this to f9 and just kind of play around with this leading line here. Let's go ahead and take this photo real quick. Kind of a cool symmetrical vibe in that photo. At 35mm, it feels kind of awkward. I'm not gonna lie, I like 24mm a lot in landscape photography, not wider. But 35mm gets that little bit more tight feeling and kind of brings that woodlot that's way back there a little bit more closer to focus, and it doesn't look bad. I kind of like it. Let's go ahead and take a couple more photos. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but there's a really cool flower stalk thing out there in the farm field. I have this idea to stop it to f1.4 and kind of get a creamy bokeh landscape with that as the foreground, kind of like an isolated subject. And with an aperture f1.4, you can definitely do that. So let's go ahead and take a walk out there. Unfortunately about doing something like this is, I really hope I don't get any ticks. So this photo, I'm really thinking that a landscape orientation is not going to work, but it's perfect for a portrait orientation. So let's go ahead and just frame this guy up in the center and deal with the wind here. Yeah, so looking at this image, and you'll see it on the screen here, I really like how creamy the bokeh is in the background at aperture f1.4. You still get the sense of environment because it's kind of a landscape photo, but at the same time, you're isolating your subject, so it's kind of a detail shot. So it's like that happy medium between landscape and capturing nature in detail. So maybe that's where this lens shines. Some sort of happy medium. Again, like I said in the beginning, it's giving you versatility of creativity, which is kind of nice. So overall, the performance here is excellent. When stopped down, this lens is clinically sharp. The corners are nice and crisp, the details are superb, and the contrast is nice and punchy. For traditional landscape work, this lens definitely holds its own. So it passes the basic tests that I wanted to do. But you don't buy an f1.4 lens just to shoot at f11. You buy it for versatility and the fast aperture that it provides. Now, where I like having an aperture of f1.4 on a 35mm, better compression, is when I'm doing detail shots. I don't like hiking with macro lenses. I mean, a macro lens would obviously be better for these flowers. When I'm out, either hiking, traveling, whatever, I want to usually only bring one lens so I don't have to pack and change lenses when I'm hiking or walking around town. 35mm f1.4 is that happy medium middle ground between landscape photography and capturing details. So when taking photos of flowers like this, you can really isolate your subject and you get that nice creamy blurry background. Still highlighting the flower. Yeah, you're not getting your true macro photography, but you're capturing the beauty of nature still. And that's where I really think this lens is starting to shine. Touched on it before and I'll touch on it again. That happy medium between landscape, capturing details and people. When you open this lens up to f1.4, it unlocks perspectives that are simply impossible with f4 or even f2.8 zoom. You take a chaotic, messy scene and isolate a single element. You can achieve this incredibly narrow depth of field, melting the background into pure bokeh. This Sigma lens handles busy backgrounds like foliage and branches incredibly well. It's no longer about documenting the scene anymore. It's about creating this artistic interpretation. Obviously, it's not a true one-to-one macro lens, but the minimum focus distance is quite good. So when you find that flower on the trail you absolutely love, go and take a photo of it, because this lens is going to handle that quite well. In a similar fashion, f1.4 is a fantastic portrait setting. It really helps isolate your subject. So if you're hiking with a friend or you have a family, it's going to do a great job at capturing those moments as well. So I've been hiking with this lens today for probably about an hour, maybe two. And I just have some thoughts that I'd like to share with y'all. Thought number one being this is a good all-around lens. It's not quite as wide as some other lenses like a 24mm, but at 35mm you can do a bit of everything and it's gonna make sense. It's wide enough for landscapes. I thought it was gonna be a little bit too narrow for landscapes, but it's not. It works well. It's great for portraits. 35mm is a very common and practical portrait lens. You're not going to get too much distortion from the wide. Yeah, it's not an 85 or a 50, but it's still really good focal length to do portraits in. At f1.4, you're getting creamy bokeh. So if you want separation of subject from background, it looks beautiful, which makes, again, good for portraits. Good for detail shots like flowers and leaves. And f1.4 is also going to allow you to shoot a little light and blue hour. So let's say you're walking around town and you still want to take some photos when you're out in the evening. Sun just went down, beautiful city lights up. f1.4 is absolutely going to shine in that kind of environment. So if you need help picking a lens, because you're indecisive and there's so many freaking options, it's exhausting. Just let me know in the comments, thoughts, questions, concerns. I'll help you make a suggestion and try and give you as close to honest feedback on what you should get as I possibly can. That was kind of cool. Anyways, I hope this video helped you out on my thoughts and a little bit of a light review on the 35mm prime. It's really a fantastic lens. Really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of the video, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.